Hello, everybody. Nice to be here. Nice to be with you guys and girls. Okay. And I see that people are coming. That's awesome. So I can say my first hello. Hello, Brian, Chris, Eliza, maybe. George. Hi, has Joseph, Natalia, Nicholas. And some of them I can't read. Okay. But I'll give you the first link that you need. And I will share screen. The first link that you need is this one. This one. And that link has the bit.ly link. Okay. So I'm giving you that link. You can open it and you can see what I see. So that was step number 1. And George says, good morning from Vallejo. And I'm saying, good morning from Houston. And that is the link that you need. There you are. Now, when you start doing this, I know two things. First of all, you're looking at it. I see a little picture of anonymous kangaroo or something like that right here. And secondly, you're also saying hello, some kind of hello from, then who knows. So I have a lot of interesting things today. Okay. You still see my screen, right? And I will start with what just happened. So the first thing that just happened is I was doing a webinar, which I assumed was for the people who don't know much, so completely different crowd than you guys. And at that point, when I was telling people about RAG and what RAG is and how you all know, an email came. An email came, and that email was from Weviate here. And in that, they are saying, hey, we've done that already for you, okay? They are saying that we have built a RAG implementation that's open source. So, of course, August 15th, it just came. I didn't have a chance to do it, but I was thinking about two things. So first of all, how useful is it? I'm still lazy to do my Moses AI. You know, I have the Moses AI. There you are. And it doesn't work, but it should. It's a reg R application. I feed it my texts and I find, no, it's not Moses AI. Okay. It's mosesai.org. That's what it is. Okay. And that's what doesn't work. But I find that it's a good idea. It is trained with all of my data, very specific data set, and it gives to me much better answers than just generic philosophical questions. All right, if I have an open source version, I can, not do any work, just install. I noticed that all you have to do is to say here, they give the command, just install. But the second really more important question is, what are the limits? Okay. What are the limits of the RAG? RAG, I always say that's a bad idea. The reason it's a bad idea is because it's based on Thomas Mikolov 2013 technology of embedding. Yes, it is accepted, but LLM is much stronger and much smarter than embedding. So theoretically, an LLM that gets all of your data should be working better than the RAG. I also wonder, what do the biggest do internally? For example, when OpenAI, when they implement talking to your documents. So the first sentence seems to appear, okay, but it's only hello. It didn't tell me. So I'll repeat the question. What are the limits of RAG, and what is LLM with your documents? Just give it all the documents. Don't do the RAG at all. So which one is better, and is it possible? Do they have completely different areas or somewhat different areas with your document? So if you can throw some idea, that would be nice. That's number one, what I was thinking. Number two is very provocative. So let me show you that and be ready to be provoked. Now, that's a guy who my wife sends me what he says here, and he is in AI and lives in New York. So he says very interesting thing. Okay, so basically he says the techies don't understand the thing, and the public is even worse. So do you also think this way? I know that the okay, I agree with every word here. The techies don't understand anything philosophically or culturally. There are multiple quotes about that. But my favorite is Greg Brockman, who says, you cannot do book summarization well, because to do it, you would need to read the book, and who wants to do that? The assumption is, of course, he never reads any books. Now, there are two kinds of books. Books that are written by humans and philosophical books, whatever their origin is. So either or, ChatGPT is very weak there. And number two is that the human crowd, well, there's not they that I don't mention journalists as those who don't quite understand. Okay, Lance also agrees to that. Now, at the end, this guy, he says, this needs to change soon. Now, that is a wishful thinking. It, to me, doesn't mean anything. All right, good. But if you have anything to comment on that, that will be something. I answered that basically humanity is not ready for AI at all. If Sam Altman wanted to hit humanity in the face, he succeeded, even though he is a techie and accordingly philosophically illiterate and culturally obtuse. Okay, they are different knowledge domains, and the Dunning-Kruger effect is strong in the IT. Think you know philosophy, but haven't taken a class or well read. Yes, I like that. Yeah, Elon Musk is a shining example. Yeah, I also agree. Okay, that's a nice conversation, but we need to go and do our work before we all get an exceedingly large guaranteed income and just don't work. All right, three things. Thing number one, MedGemma, a model. So we'll look at the model and what does it do and what you can do with it. That's number one. Coding competition, I'll tell you rather what I prepared as an outline of a course that supposedly I'll be teaching. Some people get more and more into tools, and some people want training in these tools. And that's because, yes, life is very easy with AI, but you still need to learn. And finally, Llama 4 runs on my computer. So I'll show you to the proof that it really does run. And I will also tell you what it took to run. Okay, MedGemma first. So what is that? This is a specially trained models that deal with same powers as Gemini. In other words, just an LLM, but that one is specific for health. So what you can do with that's all important, but blah blah. What you can do with that is there is a place where you can simply start asking that questions. Let's find that place. Try it. Okay. No, I don't want to build. I surely remember that I had a link somewhere that allowed me to talk about health. Let's find it. I don't need to build anything. Okay, before we find it, if we don't find it, then at least we'll look at what it is. So it seems that you can get the models, you can get them very specialized, which by the way agrees with my approach of doing the Moses AI. If you train it only on a specific bunch of documents, then it will be probably more trustworthy. I mean, not that you trust it, but it really will give you better answers. I tried it for different diseases, imagining that I have them, and supposedly it didn't give me any better answers than AI, but that was not very deep. Okay, now here you guys are talking and I'm not interrupting. That's wonderful that you're doing this, but I'm not here um, to be an administrator of that talk. No, but I want to find where I could try it. Well, if I don't, that's okay. I tried it. It works. You can ask questions. You can download that model and any one of them and work and put it into your local environment. I think I heard something about every attempt on healthcare generic thing didn't work out initially, but in the end, we know humanity does accept it. You see that it's a common thing. People check their doctor and find mistakes that the doctor makes. So that's very normal. But that seems to be very specific. That's all. Somebody had, I think, some opinion, I remember. Okay, very good. So here we are. Our next is coding. So what I want to show you is my outline that I created. Now that outline will be here. Now, I still say that if you guys want to do a competition, tell me, but 1 minute from now, I will give you a chance. So that's the book on security, but what I need is courses outlines. And that's the course that I just recently submitted, like yesterday, to a big tech company. So I'm not going into who and what, but it really is coding with AI. Doesn't have to be exactly these tools. So what I'm teaching here is basic blah blah about AI, but then I promise to introduce the different tools. The tools that I introduce are Windsurf, GitHub Copilot, and Claude Code. Now, if you have some ideas on which other tools I absolutely must introduce in this overview, and that's because every specific programmer shop already has a tool or two that they use. And it's easy to standardize on one thing. Like there are people who do Eclipse and there are people who do IntelliJ. In the same way, it's wise, I think, to use one. I have clients who do exactly these. If there is something that I should add, tell me. Next, I take Windsurf and I am simply honestly giving them the thank you for that, and I give them the Windsurf course. The Windsurf course comes from Windsurf itself. So if you see those things, AI code assistance and fixing tests automatically, and collaboratively AI code agent, how does it work? Search and discover, that all true, because that's exactly what they teach. Now, the next one is Copilot. Copilot many people use, but here I'm a little bit confused myself. Copilot, there's a GitHub Copilot, and there is Microsoft Word Copilot. It's just confusing. So I have a course. I hide it down here, but there is a course. But if you tell me a little bit more about the Copilots, different versions of Copilot. JetBrains, I can tell you myself. Initially, to me, it was terrible. And in addition, everybody was upset that they want $100 for some things that are free anyway. But now that became a pretty good tool. Okay, so it changed, it works now, and it's nothing to do with Copilot as far as I know. If you ask JetBrain AI, it says I am a JetBrain AI. It doesn't say that it's a Copilot, but I have a lot on that. Then Claude Code. That's the course that I showed you the last time. And it did. These are the things that they teach. What's different with Claude Code is that it says officially we are not building a map of your code. No, we're not storing that even. We use your code as is. And when we need insights, our agent reads exactly that part of code, and that's how we work, which is different from other people. Finally, there is a codex, and maybe I really should add it here. Codex. But I had a very special experience with Codex. Codex works in a different way. Here's the philosophy. You give them access to your Git repository. And then they submit, they go away like 5-10 minutes, they think, and then they submit the pull requests. So I learned a lot from working with it, mostly the good discipline of writing software. For example, ADR, where you document your architectural solutions. I loved it. Everybody that I show it to also loves it. So it's a good idea, definitely, and accepted in the world. But the codex itself didn't ever work for me. And when I asked ChatGPT why it doesn't work, it was jealous and it said, forget codex. You're not ready for codex. Okay. So I hope they will fix it. The reason I say that I hope they will fix it is because I noticed that's their way of working. They output code or ideas that may not be right. They done it with the canvas. They've done it with codex. They get the world's reaction, and the world is the testing ground. And I think that really is the answer. That's what they do. So practical outcome is that don't disregard anything that they do, but come back and test it the second time. That I think what it does. So I think if you want to add anything, here I'm opening my chat. Here's the chat. Any comments? No comments yet. Okay, which I take as a good sign. All right. Now, the third thing. The third thing that I promised right here is running Llama 4. So you may remember that last time, or the one before last, you submit the key. It took a week to get the key. But when I got that key for Llama 4, it It came on all channels. I asked in many places, came for every email. The next step, I discovered that to run Llama 4, you need a lot. So I'm showing you now what you need. I'm opening that lab. It's part of our building AI application labs. That's what part of our course. A guy helps me a lot with the code that I always pull, the latest, but it seems like nothing new. I also had to add a few keys. Yeah, the promise is that Llama 4 works on your computer. That's the promise. But it doesn't. You know, you need a very powerful computer. You need a GPU at least. And the promise is that it would work on your Mac, but it's harder. So I didn't even try, honestly. They use another hosting provider, and essentially they host the Llama 4, which should be local. That's exactly what they host on that provider, with the promise that it's just to try, guys, but it really will work if you spend time on work. Okay, now I go to the Llama 4 lab. In Llama 4, you see there is L1, L2, L3. L1, I think, has nothing, right? And that read, by the way, says that I have nothing. L1 and readme, and it says empty. But L2 has stuff. So if I go into L2, then I have everything that is needed to use Llama, and I have my environment. So I will kill this my environment. Okay. Because there may be some new stuff, and I'll do the install. But note one thing. Usually, let us say we have maybe it's not in that lab, but you do have to have the setup in every one of those labs. Usually we do at least one setup per group of labs. This one, you need to do the setup for everyone. Let's verify what I'm saying. The requirements. The requirements are here. These requirements will be different. Ah, George, I see your question. My Ubuntu is not running local Llama. So if you're looking for the hardware configuration, then it's nothing special. It has like maybe 40 gigabytes of RAM, but and 6 processors, but really nothing special. However, George, if you want to just send me a request, we'll play with that. We'll look at your specific question, right? Free, of course. A friend to a friend. Okay. Yeah, let's do it, George. Thank you. You have my email, right? In if you don't, it's mark@skya.ai. That works. All right. So that particular lab, and each one of that has its own requirements. That was step number one. Step number two, no, that's not what I meant. Here, I need to run the setup. And what setup? Well, let's see. Dot dot. How to? No, another. Okay, first run. Usually I tell students, oh, it's very good to go line by line, step by step. Well, that's what I told them before. I had to do it myself. I had to do it myself. I did combine all the setup in here. So that's how I usually do it. Complete setup per lab. So I'm not saying that every setup that I do is the best, but I am saying that I run many classes by now, like 5. It's many, and we at least figured out a good, stable way of doing it every time for the students. So I also give them a virtual machine, but I just found an interesting problem in the virtual machine, and that is I was doing Ender Eng's lectures downloaded from the YouTube. Well, it turns out that YouTube blocks such downloads from the cloud. So I'm showing it to you locally. Anyway, I would show it to you locally. It is developer to developer. Show me the real stuff. So I install everything that is needed. And that script also puts me in the right virtual environment. So I'm quite ready to go and show that Llama 4 indeed works in my environment. And then we will talk about why do we need it at all. and and there I will also want. Okay, I see that Steven suggested, Lance suggested something, and Steven is interested. So what did he suggest? Let's look. That's very interesting. I think that's what you mean. Yeah, and it puts you into the controversy. So that. So if yes, then yeah, how much time do you need, do you think? Because we can do it next week. Let's do it this way. Your presentation will go first, and if we have some time left, anyway, I prepare, so I will then continue. Okay, let's put it there. Okay, that will be plan of the presentation, and I will. Okay, 30 minutes. Thank you. Okay, I'll do it later. But now I want to really show people the Jupyter Notebook works now. I'm in L2, so I should only run L2. All right, now we started saving our notebooks with the output. That is so that if it doesn't work, at least look at what it looks like. But I am going to really run it. So I'll risk it. Kernel, clear all output, and now run. So one thing, they want to ignore warnings, we agree. Another thing is that they install a Llama API client. That's one of the things that the guy who works with me on that lab, he reports that even though he has put this Llama API client into the requirements, it still did not work. And that happens to me as well. So now he actually installs it. So when he installs it, it brings a lot of additional very important stuff. You see, even though it says you may need to restart, we don't, and still works. Okay. And then it says do the requirements. It's almost complete, but some things still don't work from the requirements. Okay, now the Llama API client library. For that, we already need the key, I believe. Okay. So that's talking to real Llama because that's defined by them package. Okay. Where is it getting the key? I'm not sure. Let's see. I know we had to do the key. Well, here I am. No, not here. Here I am. Okay. Let's check. Let's go here. And let's go here. And that's where all my keys are stored. Oh boy. I don't want to show them because that's recorded. No, I really don't want to. But you can believe me that I got the keys from them, and these keys is what is somehow there must be a hidden code that obtains that key. So if that works, that's because we got the key. Now you give it a very simple for AI. For other people, it may be not easy. But give me a brief history of AI. Only AI can do it. Now we're using AI compatible library. So compatible, but not the library from them. But now the first thing, we remember that Llama is multimedia. I think that there is a term. It can look at pictures. Okay, so here we show that indeed it does look at pictures. There you are. Of course, it should be a picture of Llama. And then we ask it what's in that image. Let's see. 3 llamas. Very right. Now, how did I make it work in my environment? Well, first of all, if you go to the README, and README, you can get it from here. README. So in this README, you have where the course came from. So if you're working with that, you can use that one. Okay, so you get this README. You can compare, and they will tell you, well, I should have used it. Okay, I'm going there because I want to show you the whole thing that you need to go through. What did I miss? Oh, it's because I grabbed too much. That's all I needed to do. That's the right place. So you go to the code. Go to the code. You wait.
And then the message based on the content is formed and is.
You wait. Now, don't think that you need to start listening. That's not the. It's loading. When you load, you see that notebook, but that's all you see. You need to do one more thing. Open. Open. Now, when you do this open, you see all images, additional text, everything. That's how you do it. I done it. So when I'm showing you our lab running locally, then that all is already included. So as a result, you do get to answer about images. Let's go and do a little bit more. We have some more time, but to do a little bit more, okay, let's finish. At least let's see, it shows what Llama can do. Okay, I do realize that you can very easily go to exactly that link and simply do it right there. But it will not work for you local. I'm telling you all the trouble you have to go through to make it work on your machine. Okay, so we can ask compare 2 images, and it will think and compare 2 different llamas. Okay, then it can also do what Greg couldn't do, the CEO of OpenAI, and that is read a book, A Tale of the Two Cities. That's what it's reading. And then, of course, you can ask any question about what happened in there. And then you might be interested in how much multilingual support did they include. Well, let's go and ask. How many languages do you know? But it's more than that. I need a class polyglot, and it's just for a very specific task, but it knows all the languages that it will mention. So here are the languages that it knows, and it mentions, oh, knows quite a lot of languages, and it's all downloadable. So it gives a short list, but it can also attempt. So it says, I'm not that good at other languages, but I can. Okay, very good. And a little exercise. How do you say the weather is nice in French? You say il fait beau, and that means the weather is nice. All right. What else? What else can we do? Well, to show you what else we can do, you need to close it, because every lab is done individually. I think maybe there would be a way to compress it. Well, in any case, I close it. Then I stop that. Then I go into the next lab 3 and do the same exercise with my environment. So I'll show you what system now I have. For that, I'll go to the lab on GitHub. And since we regularly teach, our needs are different. We need to verify that the labs in the course will work. So the system is very simple, but it exists. So these are the labs that were verified, and that's when they were verified. It also tells you which ones had a problem and what kind of a problem it had. So for example, Llama here. 2, 3, and 7 are functional, and 4, 5, and 6 have a couple keys. What are the keys? Well, the keys that they use to third-party APIs, that will have to be done by you, okay? But we also put it all on the issues. So by now it's becoming boring. And I think I remember some expert saying that, oh, Google. Google said that the purpose of Go is to be boring. That's what we want. We want boring, always works, not even interesting to read. All right. So I see lots of very interesting comments here, here. Okay. So we by now record everything. And not only that, they created a new email that shows you everything that's recorded. That's great. Let me really look. So Steven suggests a more neutral word than fascists. I actually like fascists because it's completely misused. Keep in mind, I'm Jewish. All right, but everybody now is a fascist. I saw a very funny cartoon in New Yorker where they compare everybody to Hitler, and they compare a toaster to Hitler, and why? Well, of course, because it burns. They compare teddy bear, but that I don't even remember why. So I am for fascist. I think, yeah, let's use that. Okay. Can we get free credits? There are lots of free credits around. Okay, but who asks that question? Steven. Steven, if we're going to talk offline, then we can talk later. Okay, that's the system at least. And all of these labs are now working. How nice. So all of these are working, and exactly which ones are working? That one. And if you want to go any deeper, I'm not saying take my course because that's for corporations and that's a different mechanics. You take 15 people off their work, so they get 2 or 3 days off. you're paying anyway, so you can pay for the course. But if anybody individually wants, then they are all also found on our lab here, and that is open. So I can just help you this one. And look how many. I can just help you. If you try to run and any one of these doesn't work, then maybe I can help you. See, there's 80 here, but really there is even more in the list. But in any case, let's go back to where we were, and that was here. Okay, so we wanted to look at MedGemma, and maybe I'm not a doctor, that's a problem, but we didn't even ask about what to do for Hangover. Some other people in my family did, and they told me that they knew all of that, so nothing special there, at least on the surface. Coding competition, I instead showed you all the tools that I'm going to cover in a course. And then running Llama 4. So be encouraged. You can Llama 4. You can use the key. You can obtain the key. They all come with the free tier. So it's working, Llama 4. Now, but the big question is, why do you need it? That's definitely a very special case, and I think that even Facebook realized that, because the real emphasis is now not on the open lab. That doesn't seem to be a competitive advantage, not to Facebook, but the superintelligence. And superintelligence, you have to first achieve it and then brag about it. So jury's out, as it usually is. Okay, we talked about everything. You can continue, you can always write to me. And now, at least, I wish you a great weekend and a great year ahead. Let me type it. Thank you everyone. So I'm stopping the share and saying goodbye.